Steam is going crazy with deals again, and this time there are some offers that are honestly hard to ignore. We're talking massive discounts up to 90%, some really solid AAA titles dropping to almost nothing, and even a few games you can claim at 100% and keep in your library permanently. And these aren't just random picks, there's a mix of story-driven experiences, co-op games, survival, and a bunch of hidden gems that are actually worth your time. So if you've been thinking about picking up something new, this is one of those moments where you can build a really solid library without spending much at all. Right at the start, we've got Uncanny Tales, Cold Road at 100% off, and this is one of those games you can claim and keep permanently, which already makes it worth a look. It's a narrative-driven experience with a focus on atmosphere and storytelling, where you're uncovering events in a cold, isolated setting. It leans more into mystery and slow exploration, so if you enjoy story-focused games where you piece things together yourself, this is a solid one to grab while it's available. And next, Legend of Keepers, Career of a Dungeon Manager, also at 100% off, and this one actually flips the usual formula. Instead of being the hero, you're managing a dungeon, hiring monsters, setting traps, and defending your treasure from adventurers. It mixes strategy, management, and a bit of roguelike progression, which makes every run feel a bit different. It's surprisingly deep, and definitely one of the more unique games in this list. Up next, NineHells at 100% off, and this is more of a smaller indie experience, but that's exactly where it can surprise you. It focuses on atmosphere, exploration, and a darker tone with a world that feels a bit mysterious and unsettling. These kinds of games are always worth claiming because even if they're short, they often leave a strong impression. And next, Stickman Killing Zombie at 100% off, and this one is much more straightforward. It's all about action, clearing out waves of enemies, and just enjoying that simple loop of combat. It's not trying to be complex, but it's the kind of game you can jump into for a quick session and have some fun without overthinking anything. And next, Thief Simulator at 90% off, and this is one of those games that's way more engaging than it might seem at first. You're breaking into houses, scouting locations, learning routines, and figuring out the best way to steal valuables without getting caught. It's all about planning and execution, and once you start upgrading your tools and skills, it becomes surprisingly addictive. Up next, Borderlands 3 at 90% off, and this is one of those AAA deals that almost feels too good to ignore. You're getting a massive looter shooter with tons of weapons, fast-paced combat, and a huge amount of content. It's especially fun in co-op where everything becomes even more chaotic. If you like grinding for better gear and constant action, this is an easy recommendation. And next, GreedFall at 90% off, and this is a much more hardcore survival experience. You're dropped into a dense jungle and everything around you is a threat. You need to manage your health, nutrition, injuries, and sanity while learning how to survive in a very unforgiving environment. It's realistic, intense, and definitely not an easy game, but that's what makes it so rewarding. Up next, Alan Wake at 90% off, and this is a great pickup if you enjoy story-driven psychological thrillers. The game blends action with a strong narrative where light plays a key role in combat. The atmosphere is neverojatno strong, and the storytelling feels almost like a TV series with a structure that keeps you hooked from start to finish. And next, The Last Campfire at 90% off, and this is a calmer, more emotional experience. It focuses on exploration, simple puzzles, and storytelling, all wrapped in a very Uyutna and relaxing atmosphere. It's not a long game, but it's one of those that stays with you because of how it presents its story. Up next, Steelrising at 90% off, and this is a Souls-like game set in an alternate version of the French Revolution. Instead of traditional enemies, you're fighting mechanical soldiers, which gives the combat a unique feel. It follows that familiar formula of learning enemy patterns and managing stamina, but the setting helps it stand out from other games in the genre. And next, Clash, Artifacts of Chaos at 90% off, and this one is definitely different from anything else here. It mixes melee combat with a very strange, almost surreal world design. The art style is unique, the characters are unusual, and the combat focuses on close-range fights with a lot of personality. It's one of those games that stands out just because it does things differently. Up next, Inside at 90% off, and this is easily one of the strongest indie games on this list. It's a cinematic platformer with minimal dialogue, but it tells a powerful story through visuals and atmosphere. The puzzles are well designed, the pacing is perfect, and the overall experience is something you don't forget easily. And next, Pneumata at 90% off, and this is a horror game that leans heavily into tension and investigation. You're exploring a disturbing environment, trying to piece together what happened while dealing with a constant sense of unease. It's slower, more focused on atmosphere, and a good pick if you like psychological horror. And next, GreedFall at 90% off, and this is a solid RPG with a strong focus on choices and world building. You're exploring a mysterious island, dealing with different factions, and shaping the outcome through your decisions. It has that classic RPG structure with companions and dialogue options, which gives it a lot of depth. Up next, Motorcycle Mechanic Simulator 2021 at 90% off. And this is one of those niche simulator games that can be surprisingly relaxing. You're repairing, customizing, and rebuilding motorcycles, learning how different parts work together, and slowly improving your workshop. If you enjoy detailed simulation games, this one is definitely worth a look. And next, Quantum Break at 80% off. And this is another strong AAA experience with a focus on storytelling. It mixes third-person shooting with time manipulation mechanics, which makes combat feel dynamic and different. The story is also presented in a very cinematic way, with live-action elements that make it stand out. Up next, Darkwood at 80% off. And this is a top-down horror game that proves you don't need high-end graphics to be terrifying. It builds tension through sound, limited visibility, and a constant feeling of danger. It's challenging, atmospheric, and one of the most unique horror experiences you can play. And finally, if you're into football management games, you can try Football Manager 26 for a limited time until April 20th. This is one of the deepest management simulations out there, where you control everything from tactics to transfers and player development. It's incredibly detailed, and if you enjoy strategy and sports, it's definitely worth jumping in while you have the chance. If you found something for yourself, make sure to subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. We're already getting really close to 10,000 subscribers, which is honestly insane, so thank you all for the support. And if you don't want to miss the next deals, stay tuned because there are always more coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.